Well, we're now joined from London by our correspondent, James Franey. James, we've seen loud voices and a surge in support for Scottish independence, yet finally this was rejected. How can we interpret this result?
I think it was very interesting during the campaign that the three leaders of the main political parties, Prime Minister David Cameron, Nick Clegg, the Deputy Prime Minister, and Ed Miliband, the leader of the opposition, were conspicuous by their absence. And I think Mr Salmond was very good at connecting with the Scottish voters, who promised this kind of Scandinavian social democracy, those voters who felt left behind perhaps in 1997 when Tony Blair's Labour Party shifted to the centre. So I think it's part of an ongoing trend. Remember, we saw in May as well with the European elections, UKIP finishing in first place, an ongoing trend of British voters rejecting the establishment.
Now, the result means the UK is not about to break up as many had feared. Where does it leave Britain's position in the EU and on the global stage?
Well, on the global stage, I think it was very interesting that US President Barack Obama and his French counterpart François Hollande made a very public intervention into British domestic politics before this vote took place. They both insisted that they wanted a strong, united kingdom, and they didn't want Scotland to go its separate way from the rest of the country. But I think the real danger had Scotland voted yes, is that they would have been distracted by these constitutional reforms. I mean, that splitting up Scotland from the rest of the country would have been extremely complicated. You'd have all the arguments over currency, who has the bank debt, and also basic things such as border controls. So I think Britain is certainly stronger on the global stage in the fact that Scotland didn't leave the rest of the UK, and the British Prime Minister David Cameron will be extremely relieved about that. But don't forget, there's another referendum coming up if Mr Cameron is indeed re-elected next year, 2017. He's promising that British voters will get a say on whether to stay inside the European Union. And I think the big problem for Britain will be, as we've seen with this referendum, investors don't like uncertainty. So I think the question is whether that European question will be cleared up in 2017 and there'll be no negative impact on the economy.
Euronews correspondent James Franey in London. Thanks very much.